But that's it for the midweek wrap-up. Our next segment, we are going to see who would win from our Fantasy Warfare match from last week.
I did a lot of deliberating in my head. And this is a tough one because they're two competitors who would thrive in the situation. Just to hit up on it, it's Jon Moxley versus Homicide, or Dean Ambrose versus Homicide. You pick the name you like.
Yeah.
Better. Same guy.
Whichever one you associate with.
In an Extreme Rules, old school ECW style match.
So this isn't necessarily set as a hardcore match. It's not set as a certain type of hardcore match. It's legit. You can start in the ring, you can wrestle all you want, but if you want to use weapons, you can.
Yeah, and it's with the two of them, it's bound to happen.
These guys are too good at violence for it not to happen.
Yeah, and that's the ECW way. It's just unpredictable.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could get 2 Sabus.
Yeah.
It happened.
So
freaked me out.
That's a great match.
It's one of the best swerves in ECW history.
Yeah.
Like this match we might end up with Jon Moxley and Dean Ambrose versus Homicide.
That'd be weird.
That would be weird.
But we've seen a lot of violent side out of Homicide. He had a lot of cool stipulation matches in TNA as part of LAX during their feud with Daniels and Styles, and their feud with Team 3D, and their involvement in the Tag Team Monsters Ball match,
which was a crazy match.
And then you had a lot of stuff with him and Colt Cabana in Ring of Honor the early years.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last week, and
Homicide does evil things to people.
He can. And even now, him and Eddie Kingston recurring into Ring of Honor as Outlaw Inc. Basically mugging people. We know that. And then we know Moxley / Ambrose had this whole IWA deathmatch career and CZW death matches and stuff like that.
Again, I'm going to say check out that article on WWE.com. Amazing article.
But ultimately, in the end, I gave the win to Ambrose. Basing off of nowadays times, Homicide is working the indies, which means he's busting his ass super hard no matter where he goes, and is still being thrown into all these, not all the time, but the hardcore matches, the big step matches, the bleeding, and all this good stuff. That's fun to watch from time to time. Ambrose has had a really good break from all this.
Yeah.
Since joining WWE Developmental. And I feel like it's given him a lot of recuperation time from this style of wrestling, which in my mind will give him the ability to maybe absorb more of this damage before being able to call it quits.
Yeah.
Because we know that WWE guys aren't slouches by any means.
No.
They're not working hard. They're not working hard. They're really hard workers that are traveling 300 days a year.
Yeah, they're wrestling at least 5 times a week.
At the same time, you know that the indie style is a lot more physically aggressive than the WWE style. Dean Ambrose even said it in his Art of Wrestling podcast with Colt Cabana, that he really didn't understand the appeal to the indie style and the Japanese style. Who can hit harder style. He was like, wrestling. We should wrestle. We should do it like wrestling. Yeah. So I'm thinking with the break from the hard hitting style. Not saying WWE guys don't hit hard, especially the guys he's in the ring with nowadays, the Rollins and their feud with the Wyatts and stuff. These are guys who are wrestling the indie style in WWE.
Yeah.
But still at the same time, being thrown through giant glass windows and off the top of Cage of Death, stuff like that.
There's more of a safety net in WWE.
Yeah, and less so in the indies. So I'm thinking, based off of the fact that he's had time to recuperate from all his former deathmatch exploits, he's going to have an advantage going in. And maybe it's going to be another thing is that he hasn't had the chance to release the aggression.
Oh, this would be a really good release for Dean Ambrose.
Especially if we're thinking right now with how fed up he is with the Authority and with Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And
Just say,
if he has an opponent like Homicide to channel all of that aggression on,
it wouldn't be a good day for him to be Homicide.
Yeah, so, I mean, no knock on Homicide. I'm sure it wouldn't be by far like any kind of a substantial overshot victory.
Ambrose would come out bloody as hell and beaten up.
But I'm going to give it to Moxley/Ambrose. He gets the Duke over Homicide. And I'm going to say it's going to be Dirty Deeds onto the ring steps.
okay.
I believe it. So that is our first ever Wrestling Rundowns version of Fantasy Warfare.
It'll be back.
Yeah, it will be back. We'll be doing that. We'll be doing that once a month. You know, we've got little special things we do week to week. Since Fantasy Warfare is one of them, we've got the top 5 of Thomas Wolfe today. But